Today, we're going to be talking about something very important, very topical, and very current. Downton Abbey. Now, I don't know what you're thinking about, but I'm thinking about Downton Abbey. Now, obviously, the first couple seasons, quite a lot of fun. However, after spoilers, spoilers, Matthew Crawley dies, the show really goes downhill. Now, I don't remember the exact behind the scenes details of why Matthew Crawley, uh, played by, I want to say Noah something or other, is killed off in a very tragic, horrible accident that I guess does make for a good episode of television, but you're not going to kill off one of your main characters just for a one episode, bump or storyline. It's not going to happen. You didn't see Clark Kent get killed off in Smallville just because, hey, that would make a good episode. No one would have expected that. No, doesn't happen. So the reason the show goes downhill, besides some perhaps internal political machinations, Matthew Crawley is our point of view character. Even though he's essentially absent in the first episode of the pilot, he represents us, the modern progressive person. Now, obviously, not progressive. Uh, we're not all progressive, but compared to the 1910s, 1920s, where in which this show is set, we are all more progressive. Certainly, all people in the Western audience, which is where this was broadcast, and the audience it is aiming at. All of us look at these servants, we look at the aristocracy, and we think to ourselves, these are outdated, these are antiquated, they're unnecessary. And while certainly this is a period piece and we can watch something like The Tudors and enjoy it for the historical fiction that it is, we are not asking ourselves to actually really truly empathize with the plight of the aristocracy, their responsibilities, their rights, and their, how can we put it? Their privilege. We're not meant to empathize with that in a real sense. It's perhaps a fantasy at best. Likewise, the servants. They are background characters if they are characters at all in any of these historical fiction things. Whereas Downton Abbey attempts to bring us in there, attempts to show those characters, as individual people that certainly existed throughout the majority of human history. There have been maids, there have been chambermaids, there have been valets, there have been butlers, there have been footmen, there have been, whatever the current or past historical title for them was. They've been around forever. However, we view that institution as so antiquated, and certainly through an American lens, uh, we view it as a kind of a subjugation. I'm exactly like this. If I were tomorrow to inherit some enormous amount of wealth and a household with, servants and these types of things, I would probably say I don't really want this. Um, I mean, I'm happy to take the money, but this big giant large household, I don't need that. I'm very happy being independent and looking after myself. I don't need to cook five-star meals. I can cook well enough with, a hot plate and a one pan. I'm good. So to be thrust into the world of the aristocracy, we inherently bring our modern sensibilities into it and into this show, which is not a historical fiction. It is very much an intimate portrait of a waning aristocratic household. If we were thrust into that, we would do exactly the same things that Matthew Crawley does. He shuns the servants. He doesn't want anything to do with them because it's nasty, it's awkward, it's weird. And it is through Matthew understanding the implications of these jobs and what shunning them and getting rid of these things would mean for the people for whom this is their job, this has been their profession for their entire lives, what it would mean to simply poo-poo it, to go, no, this is a waste of time. You are invalidating this person's entire life, livelihood, and their entire career. Everything that they have strived for in their working life is antiquated. It's a thing of the past. It's a complete waste of time. I don't want anything to do with it. I'll still pay you, but you can just sit in the corner. I don't care. And yet, as Matthew learns the dignity and the honor that comes with a life of dedicated service, we, as the audience, are also able to empathize with these people. And we are able to see, oh, you know what? Being a butler, having a butler, you know what? Maybe it's not so bad. It's kind of cool. Otherwise, we view them, certainly the sort of like, we view them as pompous. Like servants, like this butler is like giving us the brush off because we are of the lower class. No, I think it's fair to say that the majority of people who are watching this show are of the lower class. We are the plebs. We are not people that have grown up in grand estates with lush gardens and a litany of servants and helpers and all these types of things. I don't think that's who's watching this. Okay. So when we see the sort of pride that is being shown, being taken in the orderliness of the house or arrangement of the gardens or so on, any of these types of things, we view them as empty. Unless we have a point of view character, Matthew Crawley, through which we can learn and empathize and actually figure out, you know what? No, I get it. I can see it. I get it. Not to mention he's a good character by himself, but when this character dies, again, spoilers, I said spoilers first, but he dies. It is losing that window into that world. We've already been in there, we've already seen it work, we already lived in it for a while, so it's not a complete, total, absolute break, but it is very much a jarring episode, wherein which you kind of never recover from that. And then there's other weird storylines that happen that are just completely out of place for this, very sedate period piece. Even when, let's put it this way, they go to World War One, which is, the time in which this is set. They don't show horrible, horrific depredations and degradations of war. You go to the trenches and it's like, yeah, you know what? It's scary. It's kind of nasty looking, but it's, they're not showing, mounds of bodies piled in the mud, people being bayoneted over and over and over again to make sure that they're dead. Now, that happened for sure, 100%. They're not showing that because that's not pertinent to this show. You have to, if you're going to do a historical fiction set in a certain period of time, and in that period of time there's a major giant world war, yeah, some of your characters are going to be in there, and it makes sense to show a little bit of it. But essentially, the majority of the stuff that we see is the aftermath. Yeah, that's it. And to be honest, the aftermath is dealt with really pretty quickly for what would be, a life defining, PTSD inducing episode of horrors. You're like, what happened? And I'm like, he gets bruised in the spine. He can't walk for an episode or two. And then he gets better. And you know what? Hey, that's it, right? You're good to go. You're not waking up screaming in the night, remembering your friend getting shelled. No. Yeah, no. You're good to go. So some of the later storylines where they really dwell on some like dark, violent things, I'm like, it doesn't make sense. It's very weird. It's very strange. and it casts a pall over the rest of the show. It's like, ugh, yeah, this was a fun, lazy summer afternoon watching of just, yeah, you can just lay back, you can just let it wash over you, and you're good. Now we've got this storyline. Oh, fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. No, 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 no. Don't want to think about it. No, we're good. And then you go to yourself, do I really even want to watch this anymore? No, I don't. I didn't finish watching the show. I didn't finish it. You know what I did come back for, though? I came back for the movies. They did a couple movies that were both pretty good because they were a return to the original idea of it. They were not lost in the weeds of, we need to produce an episode. What storylines can we think up? They were able to take their time and go, all right, what's a story worth telling in this world? And then they tell those stories, and we're very happy with them. Oh, all right. Very important. I'm glad we talked about this. Let me know what you think about Downton Abbey and other current, impressive, important topics of today. Good luck in all your endeavors. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and I shall say farewell for now.